Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I invite the pallbearers to please come to the hearse.
Pallbearers? Pallbearers to the hearse.
Do you need Rick to be a pallbearer?
We need 6. So
I just turned the camera just slightly so that we can see them.
Highway.
Been a while.
They ran, I said it's okay. David, where are you? David. Yeah. Pallbearer.
I didn't know you were on the first.
Josh? Or Josh?
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to begin the funeral services of Mr. Benny Hahamy. We invite those of you who are here in person to please take a moment and sign the register book so we can give it to the family following the service. Also, please take a moment to be sure that your cell phones have been turned off. We welcome those of you who are joining us online. Rabbi Aaron Wolf will be officiating the sacred funeral ceremony.
Mizmor David, Adonai Roi Lo Yachzor, B'nois Deshe Yabitzeni, Amei Menuchos Na'aleini, Nafshi Yishovev Yancheni, B'magli Tzedek L'man Shmo, Gam Ki Elech B'geit Samoves, Lo Ira Ra Ki Ata Imodi, Shiftecho U'mishantecho, Heima Yenachamuni, Taroch Lefonai Shulchan, neged sororai. Dishanta v'Hashemen roshi kosi revaya. Achto v'chesed yidefuni koyimei chayai. V'shavti b'veis Adonai la'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He revives my soul. He guides me on paths of righteousness for his glory. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you, God, you are with me. Your rod and your staff do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with rich oil. My cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to pay tribute, pay our respects, and bid farewell to a very, very unique, a wonderful human being. Beni Hahamy, Ben Yahu, Ben Aaron and Bracha, a dear husband of the late Sipporah, devoted father and father-in-law, cherished grandfather to many, and I thought for a moment when I drove down here today, it's Thursday, and someone reminded me, it's Thursday. So what is Thursday? Why did that strike me right away? Because this is the day when if I wanted to visit and I wanted to communicate and be together with Benny, it was on Thursday. Every Thursday for the last, 25 plus years, I come downtown on Thursdays. I don't always get to see Benny, but when I do, it's on Thursday. And this is pretty much the time when we get together and we have a mincha service. And I recall after the passing of Tzipporah, he used to come down with Ron quite often to say Kaddish. And the last time I was able to say hello to him, or rather say goodbye to him, was the night before he passed away, or the night that he passed away. And last Friday, I knew he was ill for quite some time, but I chose last Friday to go down before Shabbat and hand him some challah and grape juice. I don't know why I chose last Friday, because I guess this Friday I would not be able to do it. And I wished him Shabbat Shalom. And little did I know that a couple of days later I will be standing here to say our final farewell. I don't want to be the one to give the eulogy. You know why? Because the ones that know him best are his children and grandchildren. And they are the ones that can best describe what a wonderful human being he was. So we will ask David, then Barbara, Max, and Ron to please, Madison, I'm sorry. Was it Madison or Max? Madison, I'm sorry. Madison, and then Ronnie to give their eulogy.
There are so many adjectives to describe Benny. Here are just a few. My father was a kind, gentle, considerate, empathetic, and hardworking man. Those traits have been inherited by my darling sister Barb and dear brother Ron. Not sure what happened to me. He was born in September 1927 in Jerusalem, then a British-mandated city-state. As a child, he ran around the streets with his buddies, dodging donkey carts, sewers, and roadblocks of 1930s Jerusalem. If anyone had shown him a picture of the world he would be living and raising a family 20 years later, Benny would have thought he was going to be abducted by aliens and dropped off on a different planet. My father was a war hero. He, along with his brother Shmuel and cousin Mike, joined the resistance and helped create the State of Israel. He was shot by a sniper on the day before the war ended and survived a bullet into his shoulders at the time when antibiotics were not so readily available. In typical Benny fashion, he powered through it all. Just imagine the idealism and the excitement of living in the new Jewish state that you helped conceive. In the late 50s and early 60s, my dad was an engineer for the Water Reclamation Department of the state. He took me with him to work on many occasions to check on various dams, creeks, and levees in the countryside. Memories of those times are filled with plenty of sun, sand, water, and his smiles. In the early 60s, he moved his family to Chicago. He wanted us to take part in the American dream. It took tremendous courage and willpower to leave the safety net of friends and family in sunny Israel for a cold gray cement jungle without speaking the language or knowing a soul. Chicago back then was nothing like its beautiful self today. He worked long, tireless hours on the road and in the office, and we saw him primarily on the weekends. He put us all through school and provided a very good life. My parents moved to LA in the 70s and subsequently moved back to Chicago in 1990, since all their children and grandchildren were already here. From that day forward, and until a couple of years ago, all of us, his children, got the special privilege and honor of working together by his side every single workday. Even as he aged and technology sprinted past him, he found new ways to be useful. He would announce the names of the caller ID to prod us into picking up the call 2 seconds sooner. Or he would review everyone's memos and question why someone had an item for too long. We will forever cherish those days by his side. Benny was a very special kind of human. He lived a long and accomplished life. They don't make men like they used to.
I'm going to make this short because I'm not much for words. What does the only daughter say about the greatest man in her life? It's hard for me to stand here before you all to honor my father in words. a trait I inherited from my dad. Not much of a talker, more of an observer. I can only remember little things like how I couldn't wait for you to come home from work, waiting at the window, watching all the cars go by until yours pulled into the driveway. So I can be the first to greet you at the door and jump into your arms and get that special smile you had for me. Or when you'd bring me to work with you and how proud you were to introduce me to all the people you know. I remember our summer picnics we had with friends where you'd be grilling hot dogs on a little charcoal grill. All of us and friends were running around, having a blast, kicking a ball, playing running bases, and you joining in until you got a cramp in your calf. You're always working, but made time to take us to fun places and museums and to see beautiful art and listen to great music and to learn and to laugh and to love. There's so much more to say, but one thing I'll always remember is how safe I felt when you were around. You were my protector, my hero. I always admired you, always was proud of you, always respected you, always someone I can talk to. Abale, you gave us, my brothers and I, a good life. And now 3 children and 6 grandchildren later, and our families are growing. We have you and Mom to thank for that. You will be in our hearts forever. May your memory be a blessing to us all.
I have mine on my phone because I'm part of Gen Z, so apologies. This is going to be short, but I wanted to tell a little story about Saba, which is that I've been to Israel 3 times in my life, and every single time I've come back and I've told my dad about all the different places I went, he always casually mentioned how Saba had an integral role in making that place happen. So I went on a hike one time in Israel, and it turns out that my Saba dug the mountain that let us have that hike. Or I slept at a kibbutz, and it turns out that Saba was at that same kibbutz too. And I think that that's such an apt kind of analogy to who Saba was, that everything that I was able to do is because he put his blood, sweat, and tears into making Israel a home for the Jewish people, and then he left and he made a home here, and everything that I am is because he did that, and he made the choice and the bravery, and I can't even comprehend it. But to uproot his entire life and come here so that he could raise a family, so that I could be able to do everything that I want is only because of him. And he was an amazing grandfather. He and Safta would always cut up cucumbers for me, and one time Safta wasn't there and the cucumbers still ended up being on the table, and he never told me it was him, but of course it was him. And he was never angry. He was always kind, and he was gentle, and he always smiled, and I loved him so much as a grandfather. But I've just been learning recently about how amazing of a person he was outside of that, and just what he did for his family and what he did for the Jewish people. And so I have just infinite admiration and respect for him, as well as just love for who he was to me personally. Thank you.
That was a mistake. So I want to thank everybody for coming here on not the greatest day for us, but also weather-wise. It sounds like a cliche, but it really means a tremendous amount to see all these people here on such a day. You can literally feel an outpouring of love for us and for our family and for my father. And it's something I can't really describe. I can just tell that it's there, and it's tremendous. Yesterday I thought I would go to my office and try to take my mind away from what happened 24 hours prior, and I thought I would lose myself in the stupid details of work, and it turns out that all anyone wanted to do was talk about my dad, which is fine. But it was strange. I got a lot of phone calls and a lot of texts and a lot of emails from people in Israel, Australia, India, California, Florida, Las Vegas, and everyone was reminding me and telling me what a great man my dad was, and everyone had a little story to tell, and everyone had a little anecdote. I got a call from a cousin of mine, a distant cousin in Israel, and he's a little bit older than me, and he was crying really, really hard in the phone. And he was telling me what a great man my dad was and how many great things he did. And I would try to interrupt him, and he would say, no, you don't understand, you don't understand. And then he would continue to tell me something else that my dad did for him and something else that my dad did for this other person, and how he wouldn't be where he was if it wasn't for my dad. And he kept saying, you don't understand, you don't understand. And I was thinking to myself, you're the one that doesn't understand, because you weren't really special. This was something that my dad did for a lot of people without really making it a stated plan. My dad loved to meet, find out about, and hear about distant family, distant friends. Maybe somebody was coming to Los Angeles that knew someone who was related to me distantly, and he would love to get together with that person, bring them into the family, take them under the wing, if you will, and create a larger, more happier group because of that. And it wasn't because of love, and it wasn't because he was strong and brave, which he was, but it was because of pride. My dad was a very, 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 very proud man. He was proud of who he was. He was proud of where he came from. He was proud of his heritage. And he was very proud of his family. This is a true story. I only tell true stories. In 1995, my dad and I were talking about our favorite basketball team at the time. We were in Los Angeles. It was the Lakers. And I was telling him, I was in college. I played basketball in high school. I was telling him that the Lakers were about to draft this kid. He was a phenom. He was going to totally change the way basketball was being played. And if the hype is real, he's going to be incredible. And straight out of high school, no college for this guy. He was going to be the next basketball genius. And my dad said, really, what's his name? And I said, Kobe Bryant. And he said, what's his name? And I said, Kobe Bryant. And my dad kind of leaned back and smiled and said, finally an Israeli. On the Lakers. And I said, Dad, look he's not Israeli, I promise you. He goes, what do you mean he's not Israeli? So my dad promised me that he would prove me wrong, because Kobe is an Israeli name. Flash forward 25 years later, we're in Chicago. The Bears draft a kid named Tariq Cohen. And my dad insisted that he was Jewish, and I said, Dad, look at him. He's short, he's African American, and he's really athletic. He's not Jewish. And my dad still insisted that I would figure, I'll come to see that he was. And then the Bulls drafted Zach LaVine, and I knew that there was going to be some problems. But the thing is, my dad firmly believed that if these people weren't Jewish or Israeli, but they had to be because of these names, then maybe they just adopted these names because they were jealous of us, of the Jewish people, of the Israeli nation. And that's my point of all this is that's the pride that he had in him. He lived every day, like I said previously, knowing where he was from and loving where he was from. He would come into the office with his Israeli paper, and he would point to an article, and he would say, "You know that pharmaceutical company that just went public, Israeli?" And then he would say, "You know this guy that just invented this GPS Waze thing, Israeli company." And he thought that every great product, every great invention in the world came from Israel, and rightly so, because he was just so proud of us. I know that he was especially proud of his family. I know that Dr. Navon and the family, which is an incredible accomplishment, is something that just made him completely burst with pride. Each one of his grandkids are so special to him. It's just it's a shame that the good run had to end. I just wanted to say one more thing, that some of us in our family are young enough where we're still kind of looking for what we're doing, where we're going to go, what we're going to be. We're at a point where we have to make a decision. Some of us left the comfort of what was a great warm environment to go off and do something completely different. And whatever happens, I really feel that part that's in you, whether you realize it or not, is from my dad, because he had something inside of him. He was very confident. He was very proud of who he was, and he did the exact same thing. And I know that we're all going to be better off because we have that peace inside of us. So thank you all for being here. I'm sorry if I rambled. My thoughts are with all of us. This loss is all of ours together, and I'm grateful that you guys are all here. Thank you.
We heard that Benny was someone who was a builder. He helped build State of Israel. He built a beautiful family, created, and accomplished. Well, I'm going to tell you something. There's no such thing as a coincidence. In the Jewish dictionary, you wouldn't find the word coincidence, because everything is by divine providence. I want to tell you something very interesting. The last 4 weeks, we've been studying in the Torah. It's being read in every single temple, every single synagogue, about creating a temple, creating the tabernacle. Back in the days, my God was telling Moshe Rabbeinu, "Va'asuli mikdash, make for me a holy place. Make for me a sanctuary. Build it for me." And the Torah goes into all the details of exactly what it means to build. Each and every one of us are building our own sanctuary. Building Benny, build his own sanctuary, his own home, beautiful home, children and grandchildren. And believe it or not, this Saturday, every single temple in the Torah reading is going to read the following words, Vaychal Moshe et hamlacha, and Moshe completed his job. His job of building came to an end. He completed, not just completed, but accomplished. Is that a coincidence? That we're talking about someone who is a builder, and we are here saying, bidding farewell. When the Torah says, Vaychal Moshe et hamlacha, I want to tell you one other thing. What was his name? Hebrew name, you know Benny, right? Hebrew name is Benayahu. Do you know what Benayahu really means? Boneh, a builder. Boneh Hashem. He's a builder for God. Wow. All comes together. I didn't know what you were preparing to say, and it just all fits in. This is his name. He lived by his name. And there's no question that he accomplished. And when is this service taking place? At the time when we're all saying Moshe Rabbeinu completed his job. And you should know each and every one of us have a little Moshe in us. Like we have a little, you ever hear the Pintel Yid? We have an Neshama. So there's some of the commentaries say each and every one of us has a little Moshe Rabbeinu in us. We inherited from him, and we have it. A small percentage of it. This Moshe Rabbeinu completed his job. And all I can say is that the children, grandchildren, all those that knew him will forever remember what an amazing person he was. And the best way to remember someone is not only by shedding a tear. That's natural. That's natural. You're going to go back to work and you look around where he was sitting. He's not there anymore. Automatically, that will happen. But the best way to remember someone is take upon yourself to do a good deed in his memory. Anything. Go to shul more often than you went up until now. Do a mitzvah more often. And say, I'm doing it in memory of this wonderful person that I've known, and I want to do it for his neshama. And this way, he will not only not be forgotten, but he will be remembered. There's two different things. Remembering someone by actively doing something. So I encourage each and every one of us to take upon ourselves to do something and become builders ourselves. Even though we don't all have the same name, but create, build, accomplish. Do whatever you can to help others, help humanity, and help the world. I will conclude with the Kel Molei Rachamim. If you can, rise for the Kel Molei Rachamim. Kel Molei Rachamim, Shoichem Amiroimim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechoino, Kamfei Ashchino, B'malos Kedoshim Utverim Kezeira Rikim Azhirim, Et Nishmas B'niyahu Ben Aaron Sholach Ve'ilomoi, B'gan Eden Tei Menucha Selachem Balarachmim, Yastirei B'Sesek Nofov V'yoilomim, Utzroi B'Tzrorachim Es Nishmos Adin Lo Yunach Halosoi, B'yonuach B'Sholem Amishkovoi, B'noimar Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of Beni Hahamy, also known as Benayahu, the son of Aaron, who has gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the Kaddish is recited, those of you who can participate in the burial, the tradition is to place 3 measures of earth into the grave. without handing the shovel from person to person. And once that is complete, the grave is covered, the rabbi will conclude with the mourner's Kaddish. Memorial contributions to the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, would be appreciated. That information is on the service folder. For those of you who are joining us online, that information is on our website. At the conclusion of the service, we'll form a shura, a double aisleway. The immediate mourners, his 3 children, will walk through. The rabbi will lead everyone in the words Hamakom Yanachem, which you can find on the back side of the service folder. This time we're going to place the earth into the grave. Ladies and gentlemen, you have not taken a moment to sign the registry. Please do so in the corner of the counter.
We're doing it at our house if you want to go in. I think they're announcing.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we're going to ask the gentleman from the cemetery to close the grave. Then we'll have the family together say the mourner's Kaddish. We'll form the Shirot. The family will walk through, and that will conclude the service here at the cemetery.
We'll make that happen soon.
We're soft as
Max, I want to tell you really well about yourself. I'm very proud of you. Your thing, the whole speech, and your memories truly very authentically said. I remember him a long time ago. Your Saba, my father, wonderful memories.
Ladies and gentlemen, and for those of you who are joining us online, the Shiva will be at the residence of Ron and Deborah Hahamy today till 8 p.m. at 751 Gardner Lane in Lake Forest. Once again, that'll be till 8 p.m. and then Sunday from 2 to 5. And we'll have that information on the website shortly.
Parents, grandparents, characters, a lot of everything, not just genetics. Personality, try to carry it with you and carry your pride. Pride for Israel. His pride for Israel. And you become another builder on your behalf. We're well about the village and stuff. We're all involved. Is it Mom? I have an aunt in Mom. It's the perfect time to meet a mom because it's so shortly after Purim. Should be proud of. Your birthday is nearby?
ודנה עדינוי כי צר במשפטך, כיסא בדברך כיסא במשפטך, כן, חכמים במשפטך, צדק עצמו עדיין נפש כוחה בידך, צדק מור ימך בידך, רחמה בידך, שמה לך בדברך ועבר לביאה שנך בכוסך הכל, תערכי בן רבי והגי כי שנו יצורי בלי אבלס לבי עדינוי נוסען, עדינוי לקח, וישם ענם ובילך, Righteous art thou, O Lord, and taken away or given life, for in thy hand are pledged all spirits. Far be it from thee to blot us from memory. Look toward us with mercy, for thou art the Lord of mercy and pardon. If a man live 1 year or 1,000 years, of what avail is it? For is he not as though he had never been? Praise be the true judge, who takes away and gives life. Praise be he, for his judgments are true, as he scrutinizes all things and rewards man according to his deeds. Let all men therefore praise his name. We know, O Lord, that thy judgments are right, thy decrees just, and thy judgments pure, and none shall presume to question thy judgments. Thou art the true judge, for all thy judgments are true. Thou art great in counsel and mighty in action, who scrutinize the ways of the children of men, and rewards each one according to his ways and the fruits of his labor, manifesting that the Lord is upright. He is my sheltering rock, in whom there is no iniquity. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken. Praise be the name of the Almighty. He the most merciful, forgives iniquity and destroys not. Often he turns aside his anger and awakens not his wrath. Ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude with a mourner's Kaddish, I told David, Ron, and Barbara last night that although I know they want it, they officially didn't ask me to do it, but I'll do it anyway. Because I know this is what Benny wants. So thank God I live in a neighborhood where there are many synagogues, and every hour on the hour you can almost find a minyan somewhere. Seriously. So I made the commitment, God willing, to say Kaddish every day for 11 months, as the tradition is. So I know this is what Benny wanted. This is what he wants. This is what he wanted me to do for his late wife, Tzipora. And we'll begin right now with the first Kaddish. Okay, ready? You have it? Okay. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shmei rabba v'yamad yivlach Yerusei yamich machusei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei v'beis Yisrael v'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru amen Yehei shmei rabba v'zvach le'olam v'amei omayah Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yisparach v'yistomah v'yisnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kisha v'richu Leila mikol v'chata v'shurata v'shvachata v'nefamata Damiran be'alma v'yibu amen Yehei shlama rabba v'shmaya v'chayit v'kol Yisrael Yimru amen Yaseh shalom v'imonav Hu yaseh shalom Leinu v'kol Yisrael Yimru amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can kindly ask everyone to follow me, we're going to form a shura over here. So just please come. We have a double aisle, so please follow me. So if you want to stand here, just making a double aisle. Rabbi Wolf will continue with the closing words, and then this will conclude the live stream and the service here at the cemetery.
These are the traditional words of condolences. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Shar Avelei Tzion Yerushalayim. Means the Almighty should comfort you amongst all those that mourn for Zion in Jerusalem. We should only get together for happy and joyous occasions. And with this, we conclude the service.